Hello and welcome everyone to Galactic Gumbo episode 24. Usually we talk about all things nerdy. We talk about Transformers, we talk about action figures, we talk about comics, we talk about TV shows, all that stuff. But today we're going to focus in on Transformers 5 The Last Night, and this is going to be kind of our movie review. So join with me is Rick. Do you want to go ahead and tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter as Shatrdglassjazz.
All right, and you can find me, G1 Hextron, on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages, the G1 Hextron. So normally, if this is your first time watching the Galactic Gumbo show, normally what we would do is we'd have several other people here with us, but they are at Pete's Robot Convention. We would go over halls. We would do a Mount Rushmore, whatever topic that we have come up with for that time, and then we would have several different topics that we would discuss. Well, like I said, this is going to be kind of a special edition to where we're just going to be talking about Transformers 5: The Last Night. So let's go ahead and get into some of the positives, because we've both seen the film, and I've put it in the title that there are going to be spoilers. So if you're watching live and for some reason you don't see that in the title where it says spoilers and you just kind of missed it or whatever, then stop right now, wait till you go see the movie, and then you can come back and watch the video. Or if you want to say, like, I don't know if I really want to see this movie, then you should probably go ahead and watch it, because you might save yourself a little bit of money. Let's talk about some of the positive things. What did you like about the movie is what I want to ask you, Rick, because I really don't have anything to contribute here. Maybe I'll catch something from what you say, but I seriously doubt it.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, when it comes to visuals, they know how to make beautiful looking special effects. And, I think we've been spoiled with some of that stuff. So I thought the effects, I thought the movie looked great. I think that I saw a few elements that would have made a good movie in this movie, and I actually liked the first 30 minutes. Maybe the thing that I wanted out of this movie was, well, let me preface this. So we've been hearing about this writer's room and this big deal about Transformers has a writer's room, much kind of like we heard about what they were going to do with Star Wars, and what Disney's plan for Star Wars was. That kind of, so we heard about the writer's room. It's been a few years, and how things are going to be different, And then we knew Michael Bay was still directing this one. That came out. We knew that. So I knew my expectations really were pretty low. I knew it was going to look good, but other than that, but I did get excited because I thought that the writer's room would help kind of contain the Bayham a little bit, and the story would be something that maybe he had to stick with and do his beautiful art direction thing, but film stuff. But he would have to stick to that story, and I'm just going to assume they well. And then let me stick to the positive. The kids. I thought that having the kids in the movie might bring back a sense of a little bit more of the innocence, or like you might have gotten in an 80s film like Goonies, or some of those things that Spielberg was attached to, since he is still part of this world as executive producer. And it looked like we might get that, from some of the trailers, and there were kids, and I like this idea of kind of like war-torn cities, and some of these kids are kind of helping the Transformers, or our main character girl, but trying to help the Transformers. I like that idea, but like you get that idea and you see them talking to the Transformers, and all of a sudden the kids start talking like they came out of a Boys in the Hood or like New Jack City movie, and they completely lost me. So that was gone. Like immediately, like after I saw the way that the kids were talking to each other, and I've got a kid, and I hope to, he's 4, but I hope to God that he's not talking like that when he's 12. But that took me out of what I wanted to get out of that. And that was kind of adding a little bit more of the childlike innocence of aliens, Transformers being on Earth, and the kids kind of, befriending them or trying to protect them in some way. But I did see a movie there that I thought could have been interesting or a decent reboot. But so I'm sort of saying that that's positive. I saw something in that I thought could be fun. And then honestly, the only other thing that I thought there might have been like some sort of movie in it would have been like, and it's kind of a trope, but when Megatron was kind of trying to gather his Decepticon troops, and they took kind of like that Suicide Squad approach of, you know, getting the gang together. To me, that's a movie. Like, that's a standalone Decepticon movie, and maybe there's like an Autobot or two in it. But I like the idea of, there's a mini idea there that I liked. Nothing came of it. It was just something that happened really fast. But I like the idea of like Megatron gathering troops. It would be cool if the troops, we knew them. I don't think any of Barricade we knew.
Well, we're getting into some negative stuff already, because I have several things that I'm going to get into.
So I saw a nugget of something that could have been cool there. I thought that was fun. It's a movie trope, I guess, but I thought it was fun for a Transformers film. It introduces our characters, which are based on toys, and it just made sense to me. That's it. Those are my positives.
My positive is it's shot with an IMAX camera. Apparently, the first time that's ever shot with an IMAX camera. So for that, okay, it looks nice. As far as whenever you're presenting it to an audience on screen. And second, I like some of the set pieces. And then that's really all I have to say positive about it. So going back to some of the things that you said, as far as like we have the kids involved, and in the trailers we're seeing these kids are involved. And one of the what we think is supposed to be one of the main stars, is it Isabel Moner or something? I don't know these 14-year-old kids' names.
Right.
But her. So she's supposed to be one of the main stars in it. And I have several problems with different characters in this. But you have those kids there, and you think that this is going to be a main part of the movie, where it's not. It's just kind of like that little bitty thing that happens, in that one scene. And then you never see those kids again. Same thing with the Isabel. I'm just gonna say Isabel. I don't know if that's her name or not. I think it is. But you see her and her character, and you think that she's going to be developed more. And you see her in the beginning. She rescues those kids, and then Mark Wahlberg rescues, or whatever his name, Jaeger or whatever, rescues them. And he has a little back and forth with the kids, because they're just shooting off one-liners back and forth. And like a 12-year-old's going to hotwire a vehicle. I'm supposed to believe that. Also, pretty racy of you, Michael Bay. I saw what you did there. But because I've been saying it for a long time, I'm like Michael Bay, there's two things. Like I think he's a little racy with some of the stuff that he does. And then the other thing is, these really likes to over sexualize these female characters and leads, which we'll get more into. But he's done it with Megan Fox. He did it with the Carly girl, and then he's doing it now to some little 14-year-old girl, and also the main woman lead. So he had her wearing this huge push-up bra and zipper pulled down in every single scene that he could. So I don't know, some of that stuff is kind of it's weird, but you see that he keeps on doing it, so it's not me, it is something wrong with what Michael Bay's doing. But so there was that. The kids, you don't see them ever again. The Isabel, whatever her character's name is, again, I can't remember the character's name because they're not in the film long enough for me to even care what their name is. Yeah. So one of her things, and you saw it in the trailer, you saw it in the movie, is she tells Mark Wahlberg, the Jaeger guy, I want to stay and I want to fight them. And then they go off and leave her for 2 hours of the movie until the very end, where she pops up again, which all she does at the end is sneak aboard a ship which these elite special armed forces guys, like these are like you took a Navy SEAL team and you're only selecting the best guy from the Navy SEAL team. You take the best of the Russian force, you're only selecting the best, like this is like the elite of the elite group, and like some 14-year-old girl can sneak on a plane, and then they let her just jump off, and or I guess they all crash, and then she gets out there with her squeaks and just says, "Squeak, go blow that up," and he blows it up, and like that was her whole reasoning for be there. I was like, there was no reason for her character to be honest. Like you could have had just squeaks there and been blown up some little turn or something like that, but it didn't make any sense for her to be in that part of the movie.
It also happened really quickly. Like if you blinked, you missed like a pivotal point. Like the whole team, the whole objective was to blow up that thing. If you blinked, you missed it. I mean, it was really quick.
Yeah, and of course, there's explosions, stuff like that. And then it was like, all right, we're aborting the objective. And then it's like, okay, the objective's back on. Then it's like, okay, we're aborting again. So we'll get more to the end of the movie and stuff like that. But just fleshing out the characters. Again, you didn't do that. Like this girl is supposed, and you mentioned before, like, hey, maybe this is going to grab that younger audience into it. The little, girl that they'll like, and hey, she's young, and I'm young. I can feel like I could be, that person, kind of like what we used to think of, like in the cartoons of, Daniel, or Spike, like in the cartoons, like they played their part, but they were fleshed out, but they weren't the over dominant character like a Transformer. Obviously, that's what you want to see. So that, those kids, it seemed like it was just a pointless scene that really didn't even need to be there. Mark Wahlberg could have just been driving and found her and then been like, look, I'm not going to leave you on the side of the road. Just something simple. So that, as far as characters, I don't believe got fleshed out. Then going to the Dinobot. Okay, the other characters I want to talk about, being left, is the Autobots. We see Grimlock, we see Hound, Drift, and Crosshairs, and we see them at the junkyard. And you're like, oh, okay, so here's these guys. I was wondering what was going to be up with them. And when they get there, we see them for like 3 minutes, and then they have to leave. Because the Decepticons are invading them, and then they leave and go to some other little town. We see about 3 more minutes of them. It's mostly just Mark Wahlberg running around in the building with, some human characters, but you hardly ever see the Transformers. And eventually Mark Wahlberg leaves, and it's just Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, the female lead, and Bumblebee, and Hot Rod, and Cogman. They're like that is 2 hours of the movie right there, are those 6 characters. And it was a Bumblebee, Hot Rod, and Cogman were your main Transformers in that movie.
I mean, literally, Drift might have gotten. Did he get over a minute and a half, 2 minutes worth of?
I think he might have got 2 minutes worth of time. You saw him. The most you saw him was having his sword on the ground and kind of twirling in the air, trying to keep his balance, that and falling over. And then whenever he transforms into his like Mercedes, his new vehicle, and drives off, and that's the last I remember seeing of Drift.
That's it.
So that Crosshairs basically did the same thing, where he kind of argued with Bumblebee, and Cogman like kind of threw him down or something by just like pulling his finger, and him transforming whenever he went out with Drift. Like he got 2 minutes of screen time.
Mm-hmm.
Hound, again, they got a little bit. They got maybe another like 3 minutes at the very end of the film. But you're talking about 2 or 3 minutes of screen time at the beginning of the film, and 2 or 3 minutes of screen time at the very end of the film, totaling about 6 minutes, 7 minutes max, and it's a 2.5 hour film.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why aren't these characters? This is supposed to be a Transformer movie. Why aren't there more of these characters in this? Then you had Grimlock, which I was like, all right, man, that was one of the cool things. Like whenever I watch Age of Extinction, if we were doing, that was the movie we were talking about today. I was like, what did you like about it? I would start off with Dinobots. Dinobots, yes, finally getting these Autobot powerhouses, in the movie is awesome. Grimlock, what you saw of him in the couple of trailers they released, that's the same amount you're going to see of him in the movie. I don't even think he reappears at the very end for the main battle. I don't remember seeing Grimlock.
I don't remember seeing him at the end.
So you only saw him in the very beginning, and what you saw in the trailers, that's what's in the film, nothing else. Then there's one other Dinobot, though.
Yep.
Slag or Sludge or whatever you want to call him. He's in the film for a half a second. Whenever he's like ramming through a car or something like that. You didn't see any of him before then, and you don't see any of him afterwards.
Yeah.
And you never
it's
see
kind
him
of surprising.
You never see him out of in robot form.
I remember sitting in my seat and being like, "What's going on? Like, what is that?" And then I'm like, "Oh yeah." It happened pretty quickly.
So when I saw him, I was like, okay, so maybe more of him. That's why you got maybe his toy or something like that. He was in there for half a second. And if you blinked, you didn't see him. And there were no other Dinobots in this film. So what happened to all the rest of the Dinobots? I'm not sure. And I think Slag must have got there. And there must have been more footage. And then it just didn't make the cut. Which it's surprising that, like, if you're going to edit your film down because you're just like, 2.5 hours is like where we need to be around, because maybe this was going to be like a 3.5 hour film. You don't edit out the Dinobots. You keep them. Now they did have the little baby Dinobots. Those suckers got 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah. Yeah, they have the little girl cuddling in the car with the Dinobots as she's waking up.
Yeah, and I don't even know who those guys are. Who are they? Where do they come from?
You see him in Jaeger's little house too, hanging out and doing his chores. He treats them like dogs or like slave dogs or something.
Yeah. Trying to teach them to grab them a beer and stuff like that. It didn't make any sense because those Dinobots got 5 minutes of screen time and a lot of interaction to where you knew that they were there. You knew that they were characters. I don't know any of their names. I don't know if they gave them any names. But the two real Dinobots, one got half a second, the other one got 2 minutes, if that. And then that's the one. Also, the one thing that the final battle is Grimlock didn't appear for that. It seemed like you'd want him.
So. One of the things that seemed like this big elephant in the room to me, I could tell that they were making an effort to try to connect all the films with the Witwicky stuff, the Witwiccan stuff, and the lore from the Knights all the way to now. I saw them trying to connect the dots, and then they, Prime, where he left last time, he was going into space trying to find his creators. When we find him, he's floating in space, just like in the trailers. And so they connected the dots there. Are we supposed to connect the dots with last time we saw Galvatron? He was Galvatron at the end of Age of Extinction. He kind of twirled his mustache, and then that was about it at the end of the last movie. And this time, we just see Megatron in a completely different look. And we knew that from the toys and the trailers, but they don't mention what the F happened to him. What happened to him?
In a 2.5 hour movie, isn't it 2 hours and like 39 minutes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's almost like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I thought that was something, because that was my question. A lot of people, whenever we looked at the Megatron toys on Cybercast, everyone's like, man, that looks cool. That's one of the better looking Megatron figures. But what happened to Galvatron? I'm like, well, in 2.5 hours, surely they spent like 2 minutes like explaining that, like one little scene to where they can be like, I need a new body or something. So you don't know why Galvatron is now Megatron, and you don't know why he's got this new body or what happened to it. Like, they don't do anything, even as far as just like how they do that little scanning thing.
Yeah, nothing.
Like, hey, we'll explain it by this little 2-second, we scan this. They don't even do that. He just appears and you don't know what happened. So that was one of the things that, like, okay, if it's supposed to be connecting here, that's not connecting.
Yeah.
You know. So, but as far as the, if you weren't a Transformer fan and you didn't watch the 80s cartoons and you don't know about the Quintessons being from the planet Quintessa, and Quintessa, blowing, they had the Autobots as the workers, they had the Decepticons as the warriors, and then they had their war, which Quintessa, the Quintessons, they left Quintessa, blowing up their planet, and then they're just on the ship. Those were the creators of the Transformers. Well, if you didn't know all that and you just came in as like, all I know are the Bayformer films, so I'm supposed to believe that just this one person named Quintessa, which was the name of the planet of the Quintessons, is this female robot that created the Transformers. I can see where you could be like, all right, I can get behind that, because Bay's just kind of making it up as he goes along. I could understand that, to where some people be like, that's not that important to me, because it wasn't that important to me either. I don't know about you.
I wish they had shown her, if she was involved in the creating of them. I wish they had shown one flashback scene that lasted 60 seconds.
Yep.
That put a little bit of backstory to it to kind of solidify what she's talking about. How did she make it? Just a minute. That would have helped.
Yeah, just a little flashback scene. Again, you keep on saying how long the movie was, but it seems like you could fit that in there instead of the little, how we gonna start the car? Man, I'm gonna hotwire it, or like when Mark Wahlberg tells that kid like he's gonna punch him or something like that if he doesn't get through the fence. That kind of seems like it would have helped the movie be a little bit better. Speaking of another character, which probably gets overlooked because there's no interest to have into him, is the Jordan Carmichael, that guy that watched over the junkyard while Mark Wahlberg's away. Yeah, I don't see a reason to even have his character, because whenever he comes, he says, "Oh, you hired me as an assistant." This is what the Craigslist ad said. He didn't say anything about robot dinosaurs and stuff. So it's like Michael Bay's trying to make a bunch of funny jokes that are modern, like finding a job on Craigslist and stuff. I'm like, it's unnecessary. We don't need it. And I don't even understand why his character needed to be there, because he's like, I can't watch over him. He just cracks a couple of jokes, and then you don't see him again in the movie until the very end. And I think all he says is like, "See, I brought the Autobots. I saved the day."
That's pretty much it.
That was it.
And Michael Bay always includes that same exact character in every one of the films. You can go back and find that character. Each one has that sidekick character in some way. It's the same old thing. It's almost like he has to check the box just to check the box.
And I think the one from Age of Extinction, the character that they had play him was the guy that had was it a Volkswagen or something like that? Had some kind of like little car. He's the one that like was it locked down basically through that thermal grenade, and he turned into like ash or something like that. Like that was the same character, just played by a different person. That's exactly what you're saying.
Same exact character.
I always like I'm gonna say it, Josh Duhamel. I always like his character, and it seems like, okay, it's cool that you're trying to like keep kind of like at least a couple of characters connecting them. So I like the fact that he's dealt with the Transformers. He knows who they are. And he knows what Megatron's really about, because he's having to argue with the new special forces, and these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. You can trust Prime and stuff like that. So, but then I think Michael Bay goes a little too far, where he gets the guy that was over Sector 7, that's like down in Cuba, or whatever, other than him telling Anthony Hopkins that it's what you're looking for is in this library. Like he's in the movie, it cuts to him probably 3 or 4 times, but he really doesn't contribute anything to the film other than telling Anthony Hopkins' character that what you're looking for, it's in this library.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things where Michael Bay was like, let's bring this character because that kind of keeps the continuity going of, hey, they're this universe. But we didn't need him. Unless you're going to make him a bigger part, then his character was pointless to have.
Yeah, I think they're just trying the movies. Same with General Marshall. Same thing, having him in the film. I like seeing cool, but I mean, I get what they're trying to do. It just kind of came across as a little.
You're roboting a little bit.
You hear me?
Yeah, you're roboting some. You want to try it again?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I get what they're trying to do with connecting and to be in it. We have a plan. This is where we're going. We know where but it didn't really mean a whole lot, the things that they did do, like you were saying.
Some of the other things as far as talking, the characters and kind of plot holes. The Anthony Hopkins character is supposed to be like big into Transformers. They've been here, for a long time. Transformers have, for over, whatever, since the Dark Ages and before, they've been here. Well, we've had 4 different Transformer movies come out, and no mention of wouldn't Anthony Hopkins' character, as soon as the first mention or anything of Transformers, that he'd pop his head out and be like, "That's what I've been studying my entire life," like it. It just seems weird that he's some historian in Transformers and like all about, the knighthood, stuff like that, that he would wait till, this far in the Transformers, movie world, that he would be finally come aboard and be like, hey, let me reveal myself to all you guys. And this is what I know, as far as Transformers. It seems like he would come in a little bit earlier on, whenever they're, trying to, do the Dark of the Moon thing with the sun, or they're trying to bring in Cybertron to basically would have knocked, Earth out of its orbit, and we'd all die anyway. So that's science. But I get that it's a movie, so I usually don't pick on stuff like that. But you'd think that his character would come forward with like, hey, let me help you guys.
Yeah.
It's not believable.
The stuff with the Cybertron, so a younger me was all about like, I hope we see Cybertron. When we saw the first movie, younger me was like, I hope we see Cybertron. Oh, what if they do Unicron? Me right now, I don't think they should touch those things while they're on Earth. If they want to do a movie on Cybertron that's not Earth-based with people running around, all for it. But I don't need the spectacle anymore. I feel like I watched an hour-long, the sky is falling, sprays are falling out of the sky, Cybertron is coming to Earth, and Earth is falling apart. That was an hour of the movie. The last hour of the movie was, I sat on the edge of my seat at some point, and I was just like, I'm not sure exactly what's going on except for everything's exploding. I mean, I know we make jokes about it. I literally felt like that when I was watching it. It just got to be too much. I think they're trying to do too much.
You also mentioned, let's see, who was it? The kind of a Suicide Squad type thing with Megatron, and he's getting all these new Decepticons. Because I wanted to bring up like Megatron and Barricade that was in the film for just probably 3 minutes are the only 2 recognizable Decepticons, if I remember correctly. Am I wrong?
Well, you remember Mohawk, right? From Wave 1 in 1984? Remember Mohawk? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, there was no Mohawk.
What were the other ones? Because it
No.
seemed like it was just like, because they made like this big scene out of Megatron's like hard up that he wants these Decepticons, these specific Decepticons released from prison or something like that. Like there's some Decepticon prison. So, and he gets them released, and then they go to that one little scene to where they basically all die. And I was like,
yeah,
these, like, they weren't even main characters, and then they all died. I was like, well, I don't know who any of these people are, but maybe they're going to elaborate on their characters and flesh them out. But just like all the other characters, they do not flesh them out at all. So you don't care about them.
Yeah. I just remember being excited for like a second. I'm like, Megatron's like making deals with the humans to release his people. Like, this could be fun. I'm like, I wonder if we'll see like Skywarp or, like, who are we going to see? I didn't know who any of those jokers are.
So, let's see, going on that, I want to say that I think Michael Bay, he picks and chooses from other films that he's seen that have done good, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna take a little bit of that, take a little bit of that, because watching this, there was like no direction with it. So I'm gonna go with, you brought up before, it was like Suicide Squad. They try to do a little thing like, here's Megatron's like ragtag, bunch of Decepticons that he doesn't need the sound waves and shock waves and star screams and those guys. Like, he's got this group, and I was like, okay, what are they gonna do? But again, they're only in the film for like 2 minutes. But the way they even did the little scenes, like it was just like Suicide Squad, total ripoff. The character Cogman, the robot or I don't know if you call him a transformer, but the character that got the most screen time out of any other robot, Bumblebee was probably second, but was Cogman. And that's a blatant ripoff of C-3PO.
Yeah.
So he's ripping off Suicide Squad, ripping off Star Wars. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, and he doesn't transform into the Aston Martin either. He drives the Aston Martin. Also, he's not a Titan Master, so don't get excited. Yeah.
So that's another thing, when we were looking at that toy on Cybercast, and it was like, oh, they made him that Aston Martin when it's obviously he was just driving it and he never transforms into it. There was also one scene where they were evading someone. They got in the Aston Martin. And then in another scene, you see them driving a completely different car. And then they turn around on a corner and then they're driving a Lamborghini. It's like within 90 seconds, they're driving 3 different cars. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is going on here? I was like, you can't be that bad at doing edits and stuff like that.
No,
or doing reshoots. Be like, all right, guys, because we all notice whenever we watch the movies to where they're like, okay, they missed this, but this one's so blatant that they're in 3 different cars driving, and within like a 90-second period.
We
like
become.
They missed the beat.
Now, I have talked to people who like the movie, and I've seen people, talking about how much they like the movie, but man, they're really, I think because they've forgiven all of the things that we come to know that Michael Bay is going to do, that it's forgivable now, according to the people that like the movie. I still don't think it's forgivable. Like, I can't forgive some of the things that he does. I'm ready I can't wait to, I'll always be excited about a Transformers movie or animated, or I will be excited, and then I have to see it and see what happens. But the excitement level, that's my thing. I'm gonna be excited about it, but I can't wait for a new director, even if it's just the Bumblebee standalone. I'm ready for a new director. I'm so ready. He's had 5 chances.
to me, because someone, because I came out I didn't really do a review on it. I just said on my Facebook page, I was like, it's the worst out of the 5. I was like, I think it was horrible. And Paul commented, he was like, well, you hate Bayformers, so, you know, considering the source, you know, I'll make my own opinion. No, you should make your own opinion.
Yeah.
But I was like, I've never, I've said that I hate the Bayformer toys, like, as I wouldn't buy them. I would never buy them. If any of you guys like to buy them, then that's fine. You know, if you like them, that's cool. I've always said that I'm not going to. I've never told you shouldn't buy them. Same thing with the films is, like, I've got the first 4 on Blu-ray. I will watch them every, you know, like maybe once every couple years or something like that. Maybe I'll just like watch all 4 of them like one day or something like that. I think they're okay. I don't think they're great films, but I never thought that they were horrible films. So if that makes sense, like, it was just one of those things where I'm like, you know, it's kind of cool, little popcorn film. You know, it's not a fantastic film. It's not like it's you know, Inception or Shutter Island or Schindler's List. You know, so like some great movie. I think I just named like all Scorsese movies. You know, it's not like a great movie, but it's not horrible by any means. This film, though, I felt was horrible, and I just thought there was so many things missing. You know, Transformers appearing for so little time. Then in the middle, like this big gap in the middle, it's just the female lead, Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, Bumblebee, and Cogman. You see Hot Rod in there a little bit.
Yeah.
One
thing that, go ahead.
The one other thing that I wanted to mention is the way that Michael Bay tries to direct his jokes.
Yes.
Is, I could tell from the very beginning when they did the Dark Ages thing with Merlin, it makes me feel like Michael Bay thinks that I'm so stupid that if he does a joke and then doesn't tell me, like, prompt to later tell me that, hey, see, this was a joke, that I won't get it. Because when they did the, like, hey, where's Merlin, you know, that drunk wizard or whatever it was.
Right.
And so I'm already thinking, I'm like, oh, the guy's probably drunk. You see him like on his horse, like barely staying on. I'm like, okay, so he's drunk. And then like takes a sip of, you know, like, I forget what he says, but he says something basically like he's hammered or drunk or whatever. I'm like, I didn't need you to tell me that he was drunk. Because I could tell from the guy prompting it, and then you cutting to him and him like barely staying on his horse, that the guy was a drunk. You know?
What I don't understand is Michael Bay is directing it, but we've had different writers writing these films. So how come each joke plays exactly the same? The humor, I've come to see it as Michael Bay's humor, even though he's not writing it, but he's filming it. So I'm just going to assume that when Michael Bay sees print on a page or he's asked to do a scene, they are letting him, Paramount, DreamWorks, letting him do what he wants with that joke and film it the way he wants to, because it always comes across the same way. And unlike the other films, I think my tolerance for it has just gone to zilch. I mean, I've laughed during some of the other films. There are a few scenes that I thought were funny, but this time, like, as I'm watching, I'm just completely straight faced, and on the inside I'm thinking, man, I can't laugh because that was ridiculous. I mean,
I didn't laugh.
I like humor
in the entire movie. I just sat there, just
me neither.
Face. And at one point I'm like, when is this thing over? I was so done with it. Because I had a little bit of excitement at the very beginning. I thought I knew all the jokes were going to be stupid, but the fact that you make stupid jokes and then you're like, you make a point to like, hey, did you look at that joke? Did you see how funny it was? It's like, I don't need you to do that. And it was like every single joke that they tried to make, you know, to where they try to make it obvious. They're like, see what I did there? It's like that guy that, you know, whenever they do something you catch it, you're like, you know, that's funny, that's cute, whatever. And then they prompt you like, see what I did there? It's like, no, you just kind of ruined it now for me.
Yeah.
I saw what you did, but now you're pointing it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind a more serious tone with more witty humor, like in the future. I'm just done with the Bay humor and the way he films those things. I wanted to say though, you know, as far as like the movie, like, do I hate all the movies? I don't hate the movies. In fact, I still like the first Transformers movie, and I like the simplicity, the approach that they took, and I still feel like Spielberg weighed in on that first one. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I feel Spielberg's presence in that movie because it is a story mostly about a boy in a car. And I think the simplicity of that first movie, along with it's the first time that we as Transformer toy fans got to see what it would be like, you know, when they're all in the alley and all the cars are driving up and Optimus Prime transforms for the first time. I mean, I still get feels for the alley scene when they transform for the first time. So I still like the first movie. I don't dislike it. The second movie I just didn't care for. The third movie, I thought it was okay. The fourth movie, I felt like it went downhill again, like the second one. And I definitely feel like this one is on the same page as the second one. And the second one happened during a writer's strike. I mean, it was the worst case scenario on how to make a movie. This one didn't. So, I mean, technically this one might be the worst one. And the thing that I hate about that is, again, I see cool parts of this movie that could have been much better. All the stuff at the beginning with the knights and stuff, if that humor, like the Merlin joke that you just referred to, if that Merlin joke wasn't in there, if the humor parts weren't in there, I would still like that part of the movie at the beginning. Again, I said I like the first like 30 minutes of the movie. It's just, it started falling apart once Bay starts doing his Bay stuff more. But I wanted to like it, but man, it came out so messy, extremely messy.
So I basically have had all my points that I could come up with from, you know, right there at the beginning of the show. So we can just kind of, you know, wing it from here. Like I said, the positive thing that I have is the set pieces. Like I'm interested in the underwater stuff, or like the castles and stuff like that. Like that stuff that it's kind of, you know, fascinates me. But then the other part is Optimus Prime. They make this big deal in their trailers of how basically he's Nemesis, you know, Nemesis Prime, and how he's a bad guy now, and how he, you know, like was fighting with Bumblebee and stuff like that. They make this big deal out of that in all the trailers, and they bring a lot of attention to it. So I'm like, well, man, Optimus Prime is probably like one of the main bad guys in this. And I'm like, oh, you know, before I'm like, does he maybe team up with this Megatron? You know, what, you know, after, like, do we find out how Galvatron turned into Megatron and got this new body? Then I'm like, okay, maybe Megatron teams up with Optimus Prime. You know, and like I want to see how that relationship. I would have liked to seen that, how that develops, because you know that they once were friends. They even reference it. You know, we once were brothers. You know, so I thought we might see a little bit of that. So is Nemesis Prime for 2 minutes whenever he gets down to Earth, and all it is what Mark Wahlberg's character just saying, like, Optimus Prime or no, it's Bumblebee. He speaks or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Bumblebee gets his voice back.
So Bumblebee says Optimus Prime or something, and then all of a sudden he snaps out of it. It's like that was strange. That was
yeah.
So just because he heard Bumblebee's voice that he hasn't heard in a long time, that now he's no longer has a spell where he's Nemesis Prime anymore. That fight was so short too. It was like 45 seconds long.
If you're an Optimus Prime fan, and most Transformers fans are, or if you're a casual, you're probably coming to see Optimus Prime. He's only in the movie. He's in there, but not a whole lot. I think his
10 minutes. 10 minutes.
What about his truck mode? A minute? 60 seconds?
Only at the very end, whenever he's driving off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long movie too. So
that's the whole point is, like, you're not getting any screen time with any of these characters. It's Bumblebee, Hot Rod, Cogman, which isn't even a Transformer, and then your human characters.
Yeah.
Like the 3 adult human characters. If you went there and you're a younger kid, or you want to take your younger kid and you're like, hey, here's this Isabel chick that you wanted to come see. She's in the first part of the movie for like maybe 10 minutes, and then they leave her and all the other Transformers, and then she appears for like 3 to 5 minutes at the very end, and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you see of her. Also, the end where Optimus Prime gives his little speech. Hey, if you're out there, we are waiting, and come here. Like, you've done that in every single film.
Every movie.
Where you start playing the music, it's usually Linkin Park, and then Optimus Prime. This is Optimus Prime, and we are here. We'll wait. I'm like, Jesus Christ, they're not coming. Been waiting for about 4 movies already. They're not coming, Optimus. Did you see, like, they started playing a little bit of credits, and then they had that one little scene?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so again, like I said, we're spoiling stuff. So it's not at the very end. It's not very far. Like, as soon as I saw that the credits started, I was so ready to get out of there. I got out of my seat, started walking down, and before I could turn the corner, like it popped up. So it didn't take very long, and it just has them looking at one of the pieces of Unicron, I guess is what they're saying, and it just has a Gemma or whatever her name is that voiced the Quintessa. It just mentions something, I forget what she says. So I was so done with the movie.
It's referencing Unicron. Unicron's horns are sticking up out of the ground that we see a few times in the movie.
Yeah.
So
apparently Unicron's gonna burst out of the planet. That's gonna take a chunk out of the Earth, right?
Didn't they do that in Transformers Prime? Wasn't that part of, like, near the end of the series? He was a part of Earth. Yeah.
He was the core.
Mm-hmm.
Which that doesn't make any sense either. But I think that his thing in the Prime is like he had these rock beings or whatever that he used.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how they're going to do that, because that doesn't make any sense either. That if once he would burst through the planet, like, that would take out a chunk of, like, if, let's say, if he's just like under, because it showed him all over the planet. But if he, like, even if he was like under England and he just burst out, well, there goes England.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to work. Anyways, I'm so, like, checked out of those movies. What else you got? We can rank Transformers movies. Bayformers. You kind of told them already. I would say 1, then 3, then 4, then 2, then 5.
Yeah, I think I'm exactly the same as you. For me, 2 and 5 are kind of the same beast. I don't know if one's worse than the other. Except for, like I said, the writer's strike was happening during 2, but it wasn't this time. So technically, 5 kind of edges out because of there's no reason why it needed to be so horrible.
I like 2 more than 5 just because of the fact that there was actually more Transformers in your Transformer movie.
And the beginning of 2 I really liked, with Nest and Ironhide out tracking the Decepticons and Prime coming out of the trailer, you know, parachuting down to the interstate. I thought those scenes were pretty cool outside of the ice cream truck twins thing. Yeah. I didn't care for those two.
There were a couple of scenes too that I really liked. I liked the from 2. I like Optimus Prime going through the forest and just like destroying trees and just like tearing up everybody that he could. I thought that was probably one of the best scenes in the Bayformers for Transformers.
It was a good scene.
Optimus Prime, they even had that in the trailer. I was like, dude, that's awesome. Yeah. You know, and then he dies or something. I forget what happens. It's been a while since I've seen it, but to me that was one of the best scenes. That, and then also in 4, whenever you see Optimus Prime riding Grimlock and coming around that corner, you know.
Oh yeah.
To me, you know, and then also like you said in 1, you see, you know, the Optimus and then all these guys coming down the alley and transforming for the first time. You know, there's some epic scenes in there. Also one. Bumblebee and Barricade. I love that little kind of going head-to-head thing. They had, again, I think it was about 30 to 45 seconds of the movie to where you're like, oh, here we go. It's bringing back from, you know, the first one. Barricade and Bumblebee, here they go. And then, like, Bumblebee does something, I don't know, like knocks him over. And that's the last you see of Barricade. He crashed.
Yeah. So I still say simpler is better when it comes to these movies. It's a different story. If you're talking like, you know, like one of the things that almost all Transformers fans love is the animated movie. And, you know, you just can't. I have found that even though I might think I want to see that recreated in live action, I just don't think they can do it. I don't think they're ever going to give us those things. And we've talked on this show, we've talked on Cybercast, like some of the things we want to see. And I'm starting to just leave those things behind.
All right. Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up from the movie? I think we kind of covered a lot of stuff. Dinobots were missing. The characters weren't fleshed out. You only saw the Transformers at the very beginning, like all these characters that they're selling as toys, that they're telling you, hey, go buy these guys. Go buy Drift. Even though you've already got a blue Drift Bugatti, go buy the new Mercedes, and he's different colors. Do you know why that he's a different brand or he's a different color? Nope. Hey, well, do you see very much of Drift if you like him? Maybe in a minute and a half. You know, so if you like Slag, you're a big Slag or Slug fan, whatever you want to call him. You know, half a second, maybe that.
He gets a little teeny.
He gets like two. He gets like 2 frames. I don't even think it's half a second. So, but yeah, I tried to find several reviews. Whenever I watched it, I was like, I can't be the only person that's thinking this negative about
it.
And then I went online, and IGN gave it a 4 out of 10. Rolling Stones gave it 0 stars. Let's see. There were several other sites that I went, and then they were all given negative. I was like, okay, so I'm not the only one here. Because I know a lot of people are just going to be like, Josh, you just hate Bayformers, you know. And like I said before, I don't like the toys. I would never buy them for myself. The films, I don't mind. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're horrible films. You know, in fact, I have all 4 of them. Will I buy this one? I honestly, I don't know, because I would rather not watch it. I'd rather just watch the first 4 and just be like, that's it. So, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we covered it. The only thing I will say, you know, I thought that I could tell that they were setting up for a Bumblebee movie. We didn't mention that in our talk, but you could tell Bumblebee got a little more attention. He always gets attention, but he did get a little bit of a flashback origin that we didn't talk about. But you could tell, like, they were giving him the attention he needed, because the next thing you're going to see is a Bumblebee movie. And I still have hopes that it'll be a good movie. You know, there's a different director, so that's a start.
That's a start. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Rick, why don't you tell people where they can find you, man?
You can find me on Twitter at Shatrdglassjazz.
And you can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram at G1 Hextron, and Facebook page is the G1 Hextron. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.